start. Yeah. So now let me welcome Jay over here, Jay Chittenipat. He doesn't want to be called by Jay Chandran, so it's only Jay. So he's really donned a lot of hats in terms of trying new things, playing new roles. But one thing that he's been involved with is on the social media side, and rather than just being an end user of it, he's been having conversations with a lot of people across the globe with different enterprises. So he's really got a flavor in terms of what people are hearing, what people are speaking, what people are thinking, right? So that's something which we are really going to ask him to speak over here. And just like we did with the earlier speaker, we should really bombard him with questions. So you should give some space in between so that we bombard you, Jay. Yeah. So with this, I'll welcome Jay on board.
Thanks, Ram. I'm not used to such large welcome. Usually it is, hey, this is Jay. He doesn't stop speaking, so tell him when time's up.
And I'm going to do that.
Thank you. Is it better? Okay. Right. They say that there are two crimes basically that people should not do, right? Especially in presenting. One is don't present it just after lunch or just before the day winds, and don't present after a brilliant speaker. I'm doing both the crimes, right? The last presentation I'm doing after somebody who's so brilliant, I couldn't stop listening to him. The topic that we're going to speak here, at least we're going to discuss today, is a little bit of what I've gathered based on our interactions with our customers in terms of this mysterious thing called social media. Everything is social now, right? Me and my wife, or rather my wife and I don't speak. We only do social media conversations. Yeah. So if I don't wish my wife on my birthday, my standard excuse is, hey, you didn't put it on a Facebook, right? I didn't know. The worst part is it's become an acceptable excuse. So she says, that's fine, I'll do it now. So I don't have the backlash. That's how bad it has become. But what I want to showcase today is some very, very, very interesting ways how some few organizations have started to leverage this animal called social media, right? There were so many examples, and when we started out discussing this with Mani, I wanted to showcase 4 industries, right? But I've actually come to just 2 industries. There's just so many examples, and it's so exciting as we speak about it, so I don't want to take too many, right? We've got retail, and we've got travel, and you'll see some very interesting stuff that people are doing here. We'll do a little bit of examples of across the globe. Rather, unfortunately, most of my examples are going to be US focused because some of the customers that I've faced, that I've worked with are in the US. All right, so I'll try and see if we can bring this on Indian context because there are many examples on the Indian context too. But bear with me if so many sounds potato and not potato, right? Yeah, that'd be nice. I actually try to do what Lakshman does. Unfortunately, I don't think I've been as successful, but the presentation, I wanted to make it the way he does. This is not my usual style of it, but let's see if I'm able to get this, all right? The first thing about retail, this used to be a huge paradigm. This is a huge paradigm shift from how we used to buy. When we were, one of the key things all these retail guys, the marketers fight with, is trying to know when and how you visit their stores. They have no clue, right? You could go on a vacation and suddenly decide to buy a shirt. Right. You could be going to, I heard a story about somebody who had to go into an official presentation from his vacation. So the only things that he had were shorts. So he landed in US and bought some suits for himself so that he could present. Right. They have no clue of when you're getting to store. You know what? They know. And this is very, very scary. The worst part is, we tell them. These applications that we use in and out, Twitters, Facebooks, and Foursquares, the application that these are applications that a lot of us continuously use to be active on the social media, right? We go ahead and tell Facebook, I'm on the newly opened store in Rummy Mall, right? And everybody's like, oh, nice, how is it? What we don't realize is the guys on the new store is also realizing that you're on the new store, right? And they can actually patch you on that. There is an application called Foursquare, which I am heavily on. Foursquare is what is called a geolocation application, right? It basically tries to know through GPS where you are. It gives you the locations nearby and asks you to check in. right? Tell Foursquare that you are at that location. It's brilliant because if you look back of your last 2 years, it can tell you where all you've gone. It's a brilliant view, right? There's a site called V Places, which basically gives you out a map, a world map of where all you've gone. So when you look back, and if you travel really a lot, you have these eyes going up with pride. Oh, I've gone to so many places. It just shows the entire map. It's gorgeous, right? But what really is happening behind the back? Is this. Every single establishment that you go to knows that you're in that establishment, and they leverage the data extremely well. Radio Shack is a Chroma, is typically like Chroma in US, right? You walk into Radio Shack, they don't tell you that you got to tell them. They simply say, yeah, I'm on Foursquare, why don't you check in? The minute you check in, you get 10% off. Imagine if you're buying a TV worth $1,000, 50,000 rupees, that's 5,000 rupees off for nothing, right? All you're telling the store is that I'm there. So I get this, I go tell my friend, hey listen, you're buying a TV, go to Radio Shack, use Foursquare, check in just once, you'll get 10% off, right? Now Foursquare's got a new customer, Radio Shack has got a new customer at the cost of 5,000 rupees. And now Radio Shack knows that he is my friend, I can influence him, right? And they start giving me more and more goodies to influence my friends, right? Now when I go to Radio Shack, I get actually 20% off. Unbelievable, they actually give me 20% off because I've referred 5 people who have purchased from Radio Shack. Look at the amount of data that they have. I might have referred 15 people there. Out of the 15 people, 5 people have made purchases. They know that they've come by my reference, and they've given me 20% off. I stopped going to Radio Shack after that because it's very scary, right? This is geolocation. This is huge. Walmart uses this for supply chain. They use it for, in fact, Walmart has come out with something extremely brilliant. They actually find out if you're in one store and there are your friends in the near vicinity, they actually tag that to you, right? So if you're in Walmart, you got 5 people checked into Foursquare, in Target, in nearby Walmart. They actually show that, right? And they tell you if you want to call your people to do shopping. You don't want to do that, but they actually give you that offer in Foursquare. All right. This is geolocation. The next big trend about this is what I call group buying. The tagline here is Hindi. It was a very one of my favorite movies. It's called Do Aankhein Bara Haath. It's 2 eyes and 12 hands. The movie is all about. It's a brilliant movie. If you guys haven't seen the movie, you should. It's one of my favorite movies. But basically, what this is that it's trying to harness the power of collective buying. Right. You guys have heard of this 21-year-old millionaire who's formed this thing called Groupon, right? That guy harnesses power. Right. All he says, we go to the next. All he says is that I'm going to give you offers. I unfortunately had to cut off the title. It said flirty aprons. I didn't want to give wrong impressions. All he says, he puts up a web page. He's got a product to sell. All he sells is that only if 70 people buy this, will you get the deal. And the deal is brilliant. It gives you 50% off, 70% off, 60% off. But it comes to you only if 70 people buys it. So if you like it, you can buy it. You become one of the person who buy it. If 70 people buys it, you get the discount. If they don't, well, you don't get a discount, but you still bought the thing. Right? So you don't lose anything. You just end up buying. But most of the time, this tips. Right? What people have started to realize is that this is driving a lot of traffic to one single place. And this happens especially for restaurants. You really don't want to spend an evening on a Chinese restaurant, but you know what? Groupon has an offer on a Chinese restaurant. Let's buy it, let's go there. Right? It's driving a lot of business onto retail side. This is something, this hasn't really caught on from a standard retail practice because you need an intermediary to perform this. Walmart cannot do this. It needs somebody like Groupon, it needs somebody like Taggle, somebody like Snapdeal to do this. Incidentally, these presents here are people in India. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Snapdeal is almost equivalent to Groupon in India. Taggle was started by one of our college mates. It's closed shop, incidentally. On December, it's closed shop. So it's not really come out well. Most of the deal seems to be crazy, in India at least. It's buying jewelry, and you have 1 gram jewelry which 5 people buy, you get at 5% off and stuff like that, which really isn't catching up, right? But this is really becoming huge from the retail perspective in US. It's becoming one of the key things that retailers are pursuing. Right? This is collective buying. The other thing that the retail guys are using is called social commerce. I hadn't heard of these terms until I saw this thing about social commerce. Social commerce is extremely simple. The core logic says, find the guy you trust. Ask him for opinion. Let him recommend the product. Then you buy the product from us. Right? So what they did was they took up a shop, an Amazon or any kind of shop, linked that to Facebook. Right? So when you go to a shop, when you go to an online shop and you want to buy, let's say, a camera, instead of saying you're going to directly buy the camera, you click on the camera and say, I like the camera. On your Facebook profile, this camera picture comes up and says, this person likes this camera, what's your opinion? Every one of your friends knows that you're going to buy a camera. Right? There are 15 people who come out with opinions on it. No, don't buy this, buy that, don't buy this, buy that. And you make a decision based on what happens on your Facebook. Right? Now, the worst part or the best part of this is that company is also monitoring that conversation. Right? The website that's given you this is also monitoring the conversation. So if there are 15 products that are named in the conversation, now when you go to that site once again, it actually recommends those 15 products to you because somebody you trusted recommended that. Right? So the whole model of trusting a product, trusting companies changed. Now that was called F-commerce, by the way. That's Facebook commerce. In Brazil, a company called, I forget the name, it's Pegasaurus or something like that, started something called T-commerce. What it did was it integrated its payment mechanism with the direct message of Twitter. So I could be on Twitter, my store could be on Twitter. I could tell my store I want to buy X thing and DM the store my user ID password or whatever that from the Pegasaurus. Pegasaurus deducts money from its account, sends you status as DM. You don't even have to log into Pegasaurus. It's called Plus or something like that. I keep forgetting. It's a Brazilian thing. That started to be called as T-commerce. So you really don't even have to get into a website to do it. You're on Twitter. You could simply just make that guy a friend, DM your requirements to this. Pegasaurus links to it, creates a payment gateway, sends you messages in DM. All done. Right? Now, your behavior in Facebook and in Twitter, whatever you're doing with this company, is being bracketed by this company for analysis. That's the scary part. We'll come to that a little later. All right. So, if you look at how the whole retail chain has changed, instead of waiting for people to come on board, letting them be unpredictable and making the customer come and waiting for them to make the selection, suddenly the stores know a lot more than what you wanted to give out. It knows what times you're going there. It knows who are your trusted influencers. It knows what products you've bought. It can actually create a profile of you and deliver products to you that you like. Right? It's a very scary story about it that we'll speak about. How many of you have seen this card? Exact time of underlining. How many of you have seen this card? Have you heard of this is something called social card. Right? This is a brilliant experiment. Barclays has come out with something called a social card. It creates what is called a ring. Right? So there are 15 people from Chennai who apply for a social card. Right? All 15 of you are created on one community. Barclays shares with you how much of money it's making off these 15 people's purchases. You as a community have a way to tell Barclay, listen, I want the late payment to be X dollars. Right? I want more interest to be charged on furniture because people aren't buying furniture, less on something else. You actually have a way of molding this card and the way the card works for you. And for doing this ethically, the company actually transfers part of its profits to you. So it's like cashback, right? No big deal. You get this cashback from the companies, but now you're getting it on a social way. So there's a community, it's called the ring. There's a ring of people, and all of you have to buy Barclays, all of you have to use Barclays, and everybody's expenses is then the ring. So don't buy anything that you don't want anyone else to know. It's there on the ring, and everybody sits together. There's a balance sheet. There's an actual balance sheet that on how much Barclays is making off these purchases. All right, how much is the cut from the company? How many shops did you visit? All that. Based on that, you can negotiate deals. So if you find out that your ring goes to Chroma a lot, you can ask Barclays to negotiate a deal with Chroma. Say, give me 2% off every time I go to Chroma. Right? Barclays is willing to do that for you because there is so much volume that's in there from there. Right? I haven't seen any other car company do this, any other credit card company do this, so I really don't know whether this has become a huge success, but this is something that they are experimenting. This one is a real card. I don't know if it's there in India, but you can actually get onto a ring. It's in, no, they're not in Facebook. They have a separate site for the ring, and you can actually see the stuff. All right. What we all spoke about, right, though it looks like science fiction, is what's happening today. Right? And the retail companies are going way ahead in terms of getting that into the future. I saw this in a Walmart. I was trying to get a screenshot, I couldn't. So if you go to Walmart in US, there's this huge kiosk which had a webcam, and I didn't know what it was, right? So you go to this Walmart. This is an experiment. This is one Walmart. You go to the Walmart. You want to buy a toothpaste, right? So you select toothpaste from there. It tells you which ale the toothpaste is, of course, right? That's mundane. Then it looks at you, takes a snapshot, tries to collect data from your profiles, from whatever profiles you have, blogs, profiles, Twitter, maps you to a demographic. So it finds out that you probably have your birthday in Facebook. You probably have your age somewhere else. It maps out the demographic, finds out your male, Caucasian, 26, finds out the mostly bought brand of toothpaste by this demographics, and recommends that brand to you. Right. So it actually, it's doing this experiment. I don't know whether it's, I don't know whether they institutionalize it. So unfortunately I stood there and it said data not recognized. So, so I kind of did all my face this thing there, but they could not recognize me. But I have no idea. Actually I have a Facebook photo which is facing the other side. I updated it when I was in college and into that after that. But I mean, it's amazing the amount of data analysis, amount of data that they have, and the amount of analysis that they can do to provide you with what is called the filtered bubble. Right? This filtered bubble is a huge concept. It's there everywhere in social, not just related to retail. If you go to, for example, when you read a newspaper, right, a physical newspaper, you start from first page. You can start with the sports page if you like sports, but then you have the whole paper to read, right? There might be bad news, there might be fire, there might be landslides. And you still read that, irrespective whether you like that. There are still news about TT and golf. You still read that even if you're not interested there. So you get a holistic picture. What's happened on the internet world is, as websites collect more and more of your data, it identifies what all you have read, what all you have transacted, and tries to give you information that is relevant to you. It's called the filter bubble. Right? Suddenly, you find a lot of information that you're extremely interested in. Right? And you keep reading more and more onto it. What's happening is there is a set of news that you might not be interested in at this point, but you're not exposed to this at all. There's a brilliant talk in TED about this filter bubble where this gentleman showcases how somebody types Israel. Two people types the word Israel on a Google search box, and they get completely different results. One person gets all about the war and terror and attack. The other person gets all about tourist places and how can you go and how can you visit. And no, just one word, right? Because of your profile, because of what you've acted, because of what you've done. That's the amount of data that you leave out on the internet world to work out well. All right. That's retail, right? And if you think that was queer, you have to see what the travel sites are doing. One of the airlines that is experimenting a lot with social media is KLM, the Dutch Airways. Right? It actually monitors, it has a force of people to monitor the social media. The brilliant model that they've adapted is that they have people in individual airports monitoring it. So if you're in, let's say, any weird airport which is connected by KLM and you have a problem and you're tweeting about it, they actually can come and meet you and speak to you. Right? So they did this experiment on customer delight where they were monitoring this people who are traveling. So they found out that a person is going to, I think, Rome or whatever. Not Rome, somewhere, and they found out that this person is an athlete, she likes to run, and she's currently on that airport waiting for the flight to come. They thought, why not they delight her by getting a Nike strap, that whatever that is, which helps them run. So they buy this off and they go to their ship and give it off to her. Same way they find that somebody's tweeted in the same airport that says that I'm waiting for flight, unfortunately finished up reading my book. So they goes to a Twitter profile or Facebook profile or whatever, identifies what kind of books he's reading, buys a book that he's not read, and gives it off to him at the airport. And these are people whom you don't know. It's very scary. These are strangers whom you don't know, who actually can identify what you like to read, what you like to do, and actually recommend based on that. But these are not queer. My favorite example with KLM is what they call meet and seat. This is almost dating on airways, right? So basically what it says is that before you make your seat a and I love their business case, right? They say when you fly, and you should see the earnestness in the person's face when they say it. Right? When you fly, you sometimes end up with people whom you don't like. Either they are very talkative and you don't want to be, or you're very talkative and they don't want to be, right? So now, if you share your social profile, once you've booked your ticket, we will tell you what are the other similar people sitting in the aeroplane, and you can pick a seat next to a person whom you like. Right?
Do I get a discount?
Now my continuous question to this has been, what if the other person doesn't like me, man? But a lot of people have kidded about this, that this is almost like a dating site, right? You actually can find out who the next person is beforehand and make it. So if their business case says that apparently if you go there and say, I'm going to have a very tough flight, I just want to sleep, you can basically sit next to an introvert or sit next to somebody else who's going to sleep. That's basically the idea. But it's got phenomenal applicabilities in a lot of ways, right? Now, once again, what you're doing here is very scary, because by exposing your social profile to them, you're exposing your behavioral patterns to them, which they can then analyze, right? Yeah, this is just one of the things that they're doing. This was followed very quickly by Malaysian Airways, right? And they did something called MH Buddy. This is there on Facebook, right? This is somewhat similar to social commerce. Their booking site is within Facebook. So when you book your flight, it automatically props up on Facebook. And then if you can find out if anybody else who's known to you flying in the same flight and try to book together. I don't know how many of us take vacation to Malaysia together and find out that my school friend is also taking vacation to Malaysia and they try to fly together. But they're actually doing it. This is a live site on Facebook, right? Now the scary part is, and we were discussing this sometime back internally, if you haven't constructed your Facebook profile well, if you haven't put together your security structures well, this information becomes public. Anybody and everybody can see that you're going to Malaysia between X date and Y date, right? And then, if you don't revoke the permission for MH Buddy, it can basically keep track of your activities later. So the plan right now is basically to try and see if you are planning for a trip, can MH propose a ticket rate for you? Can MH say that my ticket rates are very, very low at this point and say that you can plan a Malaysia trip at this point? But currently, it's just a check-in and a booking receiver. There are varying flavors of this. BlackBerry had come up with an app which I was a big fan of, where if you book your tickets, and it was linked to a site called TripIt. You basically get the itinerary on your BlackBerry. It blocks your calendar. It finds out what weather is in the city where you have to go. It finds out what are the typical hotels that are available, and then it goes to your LinkedIn profile and finds out who are your friends near that city. Right? Unfortunately, most of the friends are from my previous companies or from the companies that I know, and they are not really. LinkedIn is not really my friends, right? So there is a small checkbox in that app that says intimate them, which if you forget to tell, 15 mails go out suddenly, you're going to come into Santa Clara, right? And there is somebody who comes and says, why are you coming to Santa Clara? I have no clue how that fellow got to know. So this huge conundrum starts to happen because people, the system try to connect you with your friends, thinking that social media is all your friends, but we use it for a lot of different purposes, right? That's another app that I like. Apart from all these queer things that you just spoke about, like retail and travel, social media is also used by standard things by a lot of companies, not just retail. This was a very, very viral campaign. I had to put this Old Spice poster. I wasn't sure, how comfortable I was putting in this photo. But you should. This is actually a case study about how a marketing campaign can go viral. Now, Old Spice came up with this campaign where this gentleman would simply ask a question, and he's on YouTube, and you could interact with him. This had a persona. This person had a persona. You could interact with him on YouTube. You could respond to him on Twitter. You could interact with him on Facebook, and so on and so forth. That was a completely fictional character. They came up with, I think, 100 or something like that number of videos around this. All are like 2 minutes, 1 minute, basic ads, but nothing on TV, nothing on radios, everything on YouTube, everything on Facebook. There was a huge amount of reach. Right? It also gave rise to quite interesting laughs because people are asked to film their own shaving and their own usage of Old Spice and bring it back. They didn't realize that it was on YouTube, it was on public, and it never gets deleted anymore, right? So you should just go and check on Old Spice shave videos. You'll find weird people doing shaving antics on. But anyway, that's one thing that they use. The other standard thing that people have started to use on social media is customer support. I've had a personal experience on customer support. This is a brilliant, phenomenal use of customer support by our companies. I was watching, I think it was World Cup football, right? And fortunately I was at that time in US, and I was with Comcast. You know how football is, right? I mean, I'm from Kerala, so there are two states which are basically football crazy and not cricket crazy in India, right? West Bengal and Kerala. So I was watching this, and I was on phone with my friend, and we were talking, and suddenly Comcast had this problem. They were not giving out, the sound was not coming through, right? I was getting very, very irritated. And I tried calling them, no response. It's like 2 in the night, no response and all that. I sent out a message in Twitter. Said, #Comcast, #fail, not getting sound during the Soccer World Cup. Right? 15 to 30 seconds later, I get a DM. Please email, I get a response. Please DM me your contact number. We'll call you immediately, find out what the issue is. Amazing. I didn't believe it, so I had to DM the number, and then they called me up. They didn't solve it, obviously, but it was a kick that somebody was listening to me on the system. And there are hundreds of experiences, but these two examples is a couple of my favorites. Somebody who's trying to find out where the air valve is on a Ford Mustang, and somebody else responding from a official this thing that it's on a specific place. I don't think this could have ever gone into an incident management system that says that your ticket number is XYZ, and then it takes my 2 days to come back. This is one. And this is another one of the airline story. Right? This guy was in the airports, and he was just twittering up saying that my flight is delayed. British Airways, somebody looked at this, got him rebooked on another flight on Twitter, and got him on that flight. So he didn't even have to go to the counter. He just went to the check-in place, gave the old ticket, got the new booking ticket, and went on him. Right? This is brilliant. This is a fantastic way of looking at this. I've had few interesting conversations on Twitter when we are at airports. Trying to reach customer service, and it goes to someone else, and we have a good conversation, but customer service never comes out. Having said all that customer service, all that social media, the amount of presence that these companies have to do on the social media is extremely important. And this is a phenomenally powerful example of how this can go bad. Volkswagen came up with this, they had a Facebook profile, and they said, hey guys, you guys are great here. Now tell me, what do we want to do? What do you guys want me to do? Right? There was, I think, about 1,000 plus responses that said, please negotiate with Greenpeace. Apparently, Volkswagen had a problem with Greenpeace. Volkswagen refused to respond. Right? They didn't know how to respond. For about 1,000, 1,500 responses, this company refused to respond. Imagine the amount of bad will that's got generated just because he put up a question and refused to respond. Now the funny part is there's a video in YouTube which has got 22,000 hits which says Volkswagen fail. But the interesting part is look at who's uploaded this. It's Greenpeace who's uploaded this. So if companies, the amount of power that we give to the companies, the company don't use it, it can turn against them, right? If Greenpeace looked at this page and realized that Volkswagen is not responding, they could have simply left it. But they picked up this campaign, create another social media campaign against them. Just compiled up this page and said, look at how Volkswagen not responding. And there are very caustic comments. People say that I'm not going to buy Volkswagen anymore. My father's Volkswagen is going to be given off. I'm not going to look at any Volkswagen, and all that setup. Right, so this happened, I think, a couple of months back. A huge example of what can go wrong with companies if they don't use social media. Right? This is the company side. Right? That actually makes us as people very, very, very powerful. You can now decide how the companies can work with. Right? But at the same time, that responsibility, that power that you have, brings a huge responsibility to you. Right? It's a responsibility of trying to be safe. Let me kind of wrap this up with just one more nugget. I don't know how many of you have seen this story. Have you heard of the story? The story says, Target figured out that a teen girl was pregnant before her father did. So what Target did was, it basically analyzed all this data that was there with them. Right? It picked up all the sales data, marketing data, your Twitter data. And what it used to do is to do something called big data analysis to arrive at patterns, right? And somebody intelligent marketing thought that, hey, if I find out that people who are going for a trekking trip buys a lot of outdoor things, right? And then if I go to their Facebook profile and find out if they are going for a trip, I can send them mailers that say 10% off on trekking, 10% off on shoes, and all that, right? They found out by way of analysis that pregnant women who just recognize that they are pregnant buys a specific set of things, right? And then in came a customer and bought exactly the same set of things. So now Target knows, hey, every pregnant woman buys this, and here's my customer who's just bought exactly the same thing. Great opportunity, right? So send her mailers about 50% off on nappies, right? 30% off on whatever, all the milk products, whatever, right? They didn't know there was a teen girl. Her father gets extremely upset, comes to Target and says, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to tell my girl to become pregnant? Because you're sending her all these signals, right? Buy nappies, buy cribs, and all that 30% off, 50% off. So they started shouting. Target kind of, they were shaking. They said, I'm really sorry, we don't know how this happened. And they went back and checked their data. And they realized that this is what had happened. Next day, they call up this father, and a very nice company. They call up their father and say, listen, we're really sorry, but this is what we did. Right? We analyzed the data and we found this out. This is the reason why it had gone out. So there is a sheepish response from the father. He says, I'm really sorry, but there are a couple of things at my house that I should have known that I didn't. Right? Unfortunately, now that's how the story ends. But so what the decision that Target has taken right now, they have not abandoned this. They've actually started to build this on a much more diluted scale. So they still send you a pamphlet, but it's got the relevant items immersed in non-relevant items. Right? But that's the responsibility that we have. We have to make sure that our activities that we do at any of these places. I'm a huge user of Foursquare. You can actually find out where I am if I go to Foursquare. Until I read the story, then I went to Foursquare and changed my public profile off. Right? Otherwise, you could simply go to my Foursquare profile on the web, find out where I am. Fortunately, my father didn't know it. All right. Thank you so much. These were some of the experiences, the kind of anecdotes that we had from a lot of our customers. If there are any questions, you can tweet me or go on Facebook. I'm just kidding. But if there's anything any feedback that you have.
Actually,
somebody, let me just take that. Sorry.
The retail part of it, the selling part of it, what people profess they say they do, they don't do.
Correct.
Sometimes it happens like that. Because that's why focus group interviews and all have fallen out of favor.
Exactly.
And there was an experiment conducted in which 10 women were asked, what is the brand of cosmetic that you're going to purchase? And except for 2, I believe, all the 8 didn't purchase the brand they would.
Right.
So that leads us to the question that are the retailers hanging on to the wrong data in making decisions which they would make in pitching to the right customer at the right time?
So the reason why they're linking up the social media to retail systems is exactly to answer that. In fact, there is a very interesting case study of how I think Walmart restacked their counters based on the data that they had on these interviews, and they made the count. They wanted to make them like Target. So when they asked their customers, they said that, I want smaller counters. They didn't want to be cluttered. So they kind of did that, and their sales dropped big time. Right? So even though they were like Walmart, they dropped big time. They didn't know what it was, and then they started analyzing the purchase data, which is the data that they have. Now, what they're doing is taking up this purchase data, which is real time, which they had previously too, but was completely anonymized. You had no clue of who's buying Colgate toothpaste versus this toothpaste. And then they link this now to your social profile, right? And now they are able to find out, hey, somebody who's 20 to 30-year-old is more prone to buying Colgate than this thing, right? And then you find out that somebody from Chennai buys more Colgate than somebody in Hyderabad, so they stock more Colgate here than in Hyderabad. Right? So what they're trying to do is to exactly come out of the problem that you spoke about. Let me not ask customers what they want. Right? Let me see what they buy, and let me try to link this with the profiles that they have to see how I can categorize the data. That's what they're hitting on.
My question was more towards what they are posting that they said they would buy, and then going by that.
See, the problem is, or other thing is that the companies are not dependent on what you're professing you'll do. The companies are dependent on what you're doing right now. So the Foursquare thing, basically, I cannot, because it's geotagged, right? I cannot sit here and check in on Chroma, which is in Nungambakam. That tell you you're not in the right place, right? So I've got to be geographically in that place to check in. So there's a shop called Macy's, right? Macy's, which sells this apparel. My wife used to go there quite often. I used to check in Foursquare, not even my wife. But because I was checking in Foursquare in Macy's, and they were able to, I don't know how they corroborate the purchasing behavior with me, I started getting discounts for women's garments. No clue, but I started getting that. Now, it's still a mystery to me. It's still a mystery to me as to how they were able to corroborate my purchase data to my Foursquare data. It's still a mystery to me. I don't know if they have some way of corroborating it, because these two are not connected, you see. You can give me a discount and I can use that discount. That's probably the way, now that I think about it. If I'm using the discount in women's thing, they know that I'm purchasing women's coat. That's probably the way.
The problem is actually, whenever a particular company is going to give me some discount, I get a guilty feeling, in the sense it's somebody's money that I'm enjoying, right? See, I don't get this Indian Oil discount card, I don't get all these cards, even though I'm loyal to their products.
Right.
For the simple reason that, like if I get 10% discount, it is nothing but somebody else's money, right? So, okay, if the corporates are going to use these information for helping me, it's fine. But they shouldn't encourage me to use this for the sake of my discount. In the sense, there is a catch there, right?
Agreed. I guess, that's a fine line of how they want to use the data ethically or not ethically, right? So, I guess the way they profess, like what the KLM guys profess, right, is not that their business case is not for not to antagonize you, but to delight you. So, they're not saying that I'm using the data to asking you to buy. I'm just giving you a better option if you want to buy. The unfortunate thing is, by human behavior, we get fallen into temptation. Right? That's the unfortunate thing, but then they wash their hands off it. Right. Thanks everyone. Thanks for the...
Ajay,
sorry.
it's not a question, I just want to share a small thing. Like even before the social media came, I may be biased, but I would like to say this US guys, they are focused on dollars. Okay, this may be anecdotal, but the insurance industry in US has been doing this without the technology, even before the technology was born. These social media, whatever you're doing, tracking everything, in rejecting your claim applications. The data which I read, which was interesting, was that the claim officers who rejected your application were driving higher end cars than the normal officers who promoted the insurance.
Wow.
Because they took the data, where you swiped what, in which country, what medicine you bought, which was allergic to you, and they will say you have violated our clause, thereby refusing your claims. So they use this sleuth business. I would say that I'm really terrified by this, whatever you said. In one sense, if I have a family and a kid, the kid will threaten me on the social media saying, if you don't do this, I'll spoil your reputation in your office.
Right.
Or even a terrorist can use this for, a suicidal tendency guy, I can call him and, brainwash him to do something.
Yeah,
this is a double-edged sword, which...
It is, and it's becoming scary, because this media makes you so high, right? It gives you so much of pleasure to be there that you don't realize what you're actually sharing there. There are. This is I don't know. It's a two sides of the same coin. It is a very It is not the default option in any of the sites to stop information flow. The default option is tell everybody what you've done, right? Yep. True. That's a very interesting question. There was this. I think Sukumar forwarded that mail to us previously. There was an app that was developed by a guy using the public APIs of Facebook and Foursquare, which basically tells a guy if you want to go and party at a night, you just open up that app. Basically tells you how many ladies of a specific age is available in the nearby clubs, right? Now it doesn't stop there. It becomes even more creepier. If you click on that lady's photo, it opens up the Facebook profile. So it tells you what her family is, where she has been recently, and you can basically strike a conversation, right? This is an approved iPhone app, right? So when you get an app in iPhone, it doesn't come out just like, it's unlike Android, right? It goes to security. The reason was that these are public APIs. What I do with APIs is up to the guys out there. After all this debacle happened, they took off the app, and the company cannot be sued because it's public API and it's your data that you are willingly putting out, right? So they're basically trying to just pick up whatever data you put out and build a profile out of that.
It's not about conducting dangerous experiments.
No, so if you have put up a security shield and if they go inside the shield, they're suable. But if you put up a profile where everybody can see what it is, then no way to do that. Yeah. Thank you so much.